Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you're tuning in from the West Coast. We're so happy to have you for our third In Conversation webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about navigating course requests with our partners from Uniondale, Union-Free School District that is located in Uniondale, New York. And so I know they're a little bit cold today, but we're happy to have them. And so I'll go ahead and let Stacie and David introduce themselves, and then we also have Paul from EOS as well. So please go ahead and introduce yourselves. Let us know what you do at school district.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is David Hollander, Director of Social Studies for the Uniondale School District, and along with Stacie Reid, we take the lead on the AP programming in the district.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Stacie Reid, and I have the pleasure and honor of serving as Director of Guidance for the school district.
And good afternoon, good morning, everybody. My name is Paul DeAngelis. I'm one of the regional partnership directors here at Equal Opportunity Schools, and I'm looking forward to facilitating this conversation with our partners in Uniondale.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Stacie, and thank you, David. So we're going to go ahead and set the scene around who we are at EOS, and then also give you a little bit of data around Uniondale, just to set up this conversation around enrolling students in AP courses. So I'm going to have Dr. Stacie read our vision here at Equal Opportunity Schools.
Equal Opportunity Schools believes every student should be seen, understood, and have the opportunity to realize their full potential. We all have an opportunity to make sure no student is overlooked and every student has the chance to succeed.
Here's some amazing data out of Uniondale. They've been partnered with us since the 23-24 school year. And since then, they have seen an increase of over 41% in their advanced course participation. Specifically for this current school year, 24-25, 612 of their students that make up 42% of their total student population are enrolled in an advanced course. And that is up from 29% of their students in 23-24. So just in a year, they've already made an increase in the number of students within their population who are taking an advanced course. And this one, I think this last point will be most important for this conversation. 89% of historically underrepresented students that are currently enrolled in an advanced course have named at least one adult that they trust in the school building. And we'll have Stacie and David expand more on why that has been so vital for the work that they're doing. So one thing that we'll be talking about today is one of our main tools that our partners use when working with EOS, and that's our Student Insight Card. We'll have Stacie and David talk more about the implementation and how this card is used. But this is a comprehensive tool that is meant to capture student responses to our survey. The Student Insight Card captures the insights around student aspirations, their mindsets, and their beliefs around upper level courses for our partners to make impacts around student belonging and their overall culture when it comes to rigorous courses and advanced courses. And by understanding these barriers that our students are identifying, it actually equips our partners to have more targeted outreach and address the obstacles that are keeping students from feeling comfortable speaking up and also getting enrolled in the courses that are going to best set them up for post-secondary success. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Paul to get our conversation started. And I know you all are eager to hear more from Stacie and David, so I will go off mute and unspotlight myself.
Bottom. David and Stacie, as I shared earlier, I'm really excited about having this conversation today because not only do I know your numbers, but I know a little bit about your story and the great work that's been happening in Uniondale, even before you got into partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools. A 41% increase in numbers, 612 students enrolled in AP. That tells part of the story. So why don't you just take a moment and share with those that have joined us during this webinar today to tell a little bit more about the Uniondale story and why you have been doing this work around supporting students, especially in AP, and then what prompted you to partner with Equal Opportunity Schools?
David, you want me to go? So a couple of years ago, when our new superintendent, Dr. Monique Darasola-Keel came, we embarked on a journey implementing a strategic plan. And as part of the strategic plan, there were 4 goals that the strategic plan is rooted in, but goals 3 and 4 are mastery of content through critical thinking and problem solving, and goal 4, preparedness for a future yet to be envisioned, was critical to what we did for students. And as part of that work, David introduced us to EOS based on the work that he had done in New York City public schools and his work around AP for All. And EOS, this partnership has been nothing but has breathed more breath into the work that we're doing to ensure that we're really capturing student voice, because that's one of our pillars and our goals, and ensuring that we're exposing our students to critical school work and critical content, especially as we prepare them for their post-secondary studies.
Yeah, and I think that gave us a really good foundation. And then about 2 years ago, our superintendent also had a superintendent's advisory group. And so those were students who were coming together. And one of the things that a number of the students in there identified was that there was a real disparity in terms of who was sitting in AP classes. And what they pointed out was it was mostly young women. Our men were predominantly missing from our AP classes, and we really looked at the data. We saw that there was a real gap. And so, as Stacie and I partnered, and also partnering with a wonderful group of AP teachers and other district administrators, started to look at, why might that be? What can we do to start to think about closing those gaps and making sure that we have more representation? Because we have a very robust AP program. We've always had, since I've been here the past few years, 20 plus AP classes. We've had a lot of students participate, but still seeing the numbers, seeing some of the gaps. And so that became a goal, was to really increase enrollment and really decrease barriers.
So in the time that you've partnered with Equal Opportunity Schools, and you've mentioned student voice, and I think one of the things we pride ourselves on is that ability to lift student voice through the survey, through the insight card, and through the data that we provide. So what have you learned about your school now that you've elevated student voice and now that you've had some access to the tools and resources that we've provided for you?
For me, it's just been breathtaking and eye-opening, because sometimes with the insight cards, it goes to every single student. So that student that may not be comfortable with having a conversation or being part of a certain group, we still have their voice represented on the data that we receive from the insight cards. And we've also district-wide have increased the number of opportunities students really have to have voice. We have a student board member that sits with the Board of Education that represents the student body. The superintendent has a superintendent student council, and there's so many other facets in which student voice is implemented. Just this past weekend, we had our strategic planning retreat, and we had over 20 students there that are working with parents and educators and administrators in terms of their voice being prominent in what we're doing, because at the end of the day, we're working for them.
And I want to call out Stacie and her team of counselors, because one of the things that we implemented last year, and Stacie really I think did a great job with this was saying, okay, these student insight cards, how do we make sure that they're actually used with fidelity? And the insight cards are based on the student surveys that go out. They're based on some student data, which is already uploaded. And so what Stacie put together was a little bit of a checklist, so that basically counselors, and every time, because our counselors will meet with every single high school student as they're planning their program for next year for course selection, that they're going to go through, they check off, they've gone through the student insight card, and the student has to sign and say, my counselor did talk to me about advanced coursework. And what we also want to do is give multiple opportunities, because advanced coursework, yes, we're focused on AP, but we also have a robust, we have dual credit programs, we have CTE programs, we actually have a barbering program, we have partnerships with one of our local organizations where we have students who do electrical and plumbing and all types of programs, but we want to make sure that students have some college-going careers. So students will sign off at the end saying that their counselor talked to them, that they got to see their student insight cards, because creating that process, creating that structure is really important, making sure that it's done with fidelity.
Talk a little bit more about that process, the development of this checklist, so to speak, and the involvement of the staff at the building, and any other ways that you promote or encourage that enrollment in advanced courses, whether it is AP or some of those other options that you mentioned.
So the student insight cards, as David shared, the counselors, when they meet with the student, we have something called a course selection sheet, where students can see all of the courses that they can take. The student insight card just kind of grounds or provides a foundation to enrich the conversation with the student based on the information that they've provided from the survey. So when we talk about their learning mindsets and their skills, why is it that you feel that you can't take an AP course? What do you think that the barriers are that are present that are preventing you from doing that? Who are the trusted adults that I can actually go and engage in to have a deeper conversation, and maybe to understand Stacie a little bit better, to encourage her to say, you can do this. And then what we also did, as David could report, is when we met with our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, as well as the superintendent, we started to look at the prerequisites. There were so many barriers that we just had to take them down, saying that you couldn't take an AP course unless you had these following prerequisites. And we removed those. And once we removed those, we started to see that students were like, oh, okay, I don't have to have these types of criteria to be able to take an AP course. And that was integral to the process. Secondly, we started to engage our AP ambassadors, which David will speak to about more later, but we had something called an elective course fair, where students can come and engage with their with their teachers, as well as their peers, to learn more about all of the different AP courses that we're offering, and then really learn from the student perspective, like, what is the expectation? What do we do in this course? What am I learning? And the benefits of being able to take an AP course to be better prepared for their post-secondary studies.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we started to discover between the student insight cards, as well as the equity pathways report that we get from EOS, is how many students said, I just don't know enough about AP. And, I never really thought much about it. And we really wanted to change that narrative. We're a school district. We are almost 100% students of color. We have a very large percentage of students who, we have students who were not born here. We have students whose parents were not born here, and we have many students whose parents were born here, but a range of students and experiences. So AP may not be something that they necessarily had within the language of their household. And so we really wanted to increase the level of knowledge and also make sure students saw themselves. And so we wanted to identify students. And so we created the AP Student Ambassador Program and actually created a whole marketing campaign. And so, I'm lucky enough to, my wife is, has a marketing company and actually helped us put together a campaign. We've done some other things with our U as our Uniondale logo. And, sitting one day, we just kind of brainstormed and we came up with this idea of AP is you, essentially changing the narrative of who gets to be in an AP class and making sure that we have representation from athletes, from some of our shy students, from our underclassmen, our upperclassmen, a full range of students. And so we have our student ambassadors who then talk to other students, and they're working on a number of things right now. We just launched an Instagram channel where we're going to be posting wellness and other type of information. During our course and elective fair or our AP night that we do in May, they come out and speak to other students. They're working on some study skills workshops and other types of things. So really making them central and changing this idea. Like, there are now students who've never thought about AP who are asking, what is this AP thing all about? So it's really been a comprehensive look at not just we've got to give some more information out there, but it's also how we get that information. And this image right there was posted in our local newspaper because we wanted families to see this too and start asking questions.
The one thing I wanted to add too is the information from the Student Insight Cards in terms of the trusted adults and the barriers also helped us as leaders in the district have deeper, enriching conversations with other educators for professional development. How do you engage students to build self-efficacy, to say, hey, you can participate in an advanced placement course? What are the things that we may be doing intentionally or unintentionally that are happening, and how students are receiving it? Because our boots to the ground students, our AP ambassadors, and the Student Insight Cards are providing that knowledge for us.
I love everything you just said. That was great. Talk about the support systems that you've developed. You're enrolling more students. You have 612 students now enrolled into your AP program. Beyond Tier 1 interventions happening in the classroom, what else are you doing to help support students and help them be successful in that, especially for those experiencing AP or experiencing that level of rigor for the first time?
We've developed a comprehensive program around extra help. So now our AP students are providing intentional extra help for their AP students, our AP teachers, I'm sorry. So after school, they're intentional about having that hour of extra help time. Some of our teachers are giving of their personal time in terms of their prep or lunchtime to work with students. And then we're also finding that students are also helping each other. During the summer, we had an organization come in to help students develop study skills, note-taking skills, and things of that sort prior to them taking the AP course. So they go in with those essential tools that are needed to become successful. In the spring, we have an AP reception where we bring in our parents and our students so they understand what are the expectations from the teachers. The parents have an opportunity to meet with the teachers briefly to understand more about what the course content is, what the expectations are, and what kind of support your young person may need as they embark on this course of study.
And, and part of this is, it's a continual work in progress, because what I think works one year may not work the next year as we get more students. And so having that feedback loop of the teachers, having that feedback loop of the students. So our AP ambassadors right now, they broke up into 3 groups this year, kind of like subcommittees. We have one group working on some of our marketing and informational materials. So they're actually putting together a form right now. They want to get more information from teachers about what students should expect. And they want to get some things from teachers and also from other students. And they want that to be publicly accessible so students have an idea of what they're getting into, and not just the what's in the course catalog, because that tells you about the course, but it doesn't tell you what the daily experience is. And so they were saying they'd like to get some assignments so you can see what it looks like. We have another group working on social emotional learning, and they want to do some events where students can come in and de-stress, talk about what's going on, how they're feeling about things. And then another group working on study skills. We have a forum going out where students will be able to sign up if they want to join a study group, so they can identify what are the courses they're in and maybe find some other students who may be looking for a study group. And really what we're trying to do is be responsive as we go through. And the truth is, look, sometimes as you expand that access, you're going to find that students are struggling, that students need the help. But there's a difference between the positive struggle and the productive struggle, and sometimes the damaging struggle. And so what we really try and do is identify when that struggle, how do we get to that productive place? And so we've even had students who come in and say, I'm interested in dropping an AP class. And so the first thing we do is we try and treat students as individuals and say, okay, let's look and see how many AP classes. If you're taking 4 AP classes and you need to drop one, yeah, we understand that may be a little too much for this year. We're not going to give a hard time on that. But for the student who's taking that first AP class and they get in there after 2 weeks and say, I'm ready to drop, we actually have something that we had gotten from EOS, a withdrawal contract. And so students, before they can drop, actually have to go show that they've gone to extra help for several weeks. They have to show that they've done all their homework. They have to show that they have done retests and extra credit opportunities. And once they've done that, by the time they've actually done all those steps, most of the time, the student's actually doing a lot better. We've essentially built a system where they're now taking advantage of the supports that are in place before we actually say, yeah, let's just drop a course. So it's trying to treat each individual student and making sure that students are getting what they need and teachers are getting what they need.
What's, in a positive way, what surprised you the most about this shift in maybe the culture of the school, the climate of the school, the attitudes and beliefs of staff and students? What's something that you would love to share with the audience that's with us today?
The one thing I would like to share is that student who never thought an AP class was for them. They're in the AP class, they're doing well, and their just belief in themselves and the things that they can do just skyrockets. That's just a blessing and a wonderful thing that I've noticed.
I think there are 2 things which stand out to me. One is talking with some students, this AP has really seemed to become a little bit of a badge of honor that students want to be part of. I've gotten more questions about our AP as You t-shirts from students. Where do I get one? How do I get one? I want to be an ambassador. At our course and elective fair, I had 2 or 3 students come up and say, oh, I never signed up. I really want to be part of this. And there's something about belonging in there. And I think also some students talking about, yeah, it's a challenge, but I get it. I understand why it's good to have that challenge here. And then on the staff side, I think the interesting thing has been, as we've added more students, we've needed some more teachers to teach AP sections. And a couple, I think for me, it was one of the proudest moments I've had. A teacher came up to me and said, I haven't tried anything new for a long time, but hearing about everything we're doing, I think I want to try teaching an AP class for the first time. And this teacher is doing great in the class and has, a lot of sections of it now. But this teacher just kind of bought into this whole idea of, I want to give this challenge and opportunity to students.
Dr. Stacie, this question is just for you. Everybody loves a good student story, and I'm sure you have dozens of them that you could tell about the impact that just engaging with students in this way can potentially have. Any good stories you could share, or a good story that you could share?
Yeah, I have plenty, but over the last 2 weeks, I had 2 young ladies come to me. They wanted out of AP Bio. One of them is, we have a nursing program here at school, and her future career goal is to become a surgeon. And she kept saying, I just want out. It's just too hard. I can't do this. And basically, she has senioritis. She just wants out. She just wants an easy way out. And I had a conversation with her and I said, okay, so you're going to take a biology class when you're going to school as a science major for the first time. And she said, well, I'll have a fresh start. And I said, let me tell you something. I would be doing you a disservice to allow you to come out of this class. I said, are you stressed out about the work? And she said, yes. And I said, is it because you find it too difficult? And I looked at her attendance. Her attendance had been a little sketchy. I asked her about that. And I think it was sketchy because she felt like she was going to come out of the class. So she kind of would schedule appointments and do things. And just after the conversation, I said, okay, so when you go to college, do you think that you'll be more or less prepared to take on this career as becoming a surgeon? And she was like, oh, no. And then I had a conversation with her mom, and her mother said, she didn't tell me all of this. She told her half the story. So that's why it's important to engage with all stakeholders. And I said, listen, you applied to college with this AP Bio course on your transcript. Now, when we have to send a mid-year report or end-year report, it's gone. What do you think the admissions person is going to think? Now you have this AP Bio class and now it's gone. And then she was just like, I didn't think about that. And I said, it's better for you to see this content here where you have all these support systems that can support you and help you through this content now than later when you get to college and you see it for the first time and you're trying to figure everything out. Every class is an AP class. And long story short, she's in the class. I checked her grades. She's doing much better. I see her in the hallway and I'm like, how you doing? She gives me that smile. But I'm just so great that we had the conversation with her, her parent, her counselor, and now she's seeing the benefits and understanding instead of just taking the easy way out. So those stories I can tell you forever, but it's just really understanding what your post-secondary goals are, understanding the reasons why, and ensuring that the student says or sees the benefit in staying in the AP course. And then she went on to ask about the score on the exam. And I said, listen, we all want you to get a 3, 4, or 5. We get it. But you're going to have to take the MCAT. You're going to have to take a test to become a surgeon, and you can't run from it. You can't say, I don't want to take this test. You need to take it. So she's feeling more strongly about being in the course. It was an uphill battle, but we have to have those deep conversations with students so they can see the benefits of what they're doing and not the immediate gratification of taking the easy way out.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that story. It's always so amazing to get to hear direct impact on specific students. And everything that you all shared was one, just inspirational because it really shows the commitment the two of you have to this work. But I also am really grateful that everyone who joined this call is going to be able to take some of these things away. And there will be plenty more opportunities to learn more about EOS if you're here on the call and that's something that you're interested in. But big thank you to Dr. Stacie, to David, not just for the work that you do, but for being on here today. And thank you, Paul, for leading such a fantastic conversation. And then, of course, one last big thank you to everyone who joined our webinar today. We will be sharing the recording if you would like to share it with other people. And then, of course, anyone who missed it will get the chance to see this as well. But thank you all for being here, and we're happy to have you.